Hi everyone, Jade here from Nested Knowledge. Today I'm going to show you how to use search exploration. So at this point you'll likely be starting out. You don't necessarily have your research question defined. You have some sort of idea of what kind of search you want to create. So what we'll do is just add in different concepts in this top left to start off with. So I'm interested in non-small cell lung cancer. I type that in, select enter on my keyboard, and it adds it into the next box in the middle here. I also know that that's typically abbreviated to NLCLC, so I'll add that in. I'm only interested in randomized controlled trials, let's say. Randomized controlled trials. I'm also only interested in, or let's say I am interested in adverse events, so I can start to add in these different concepts. Next, I'll maximize this concept box by selecting this arrow here. And you'll see as I've added in these terms, on the right hand side, we get a preview of what that query would be like. And so it can be beneficial to add in these different groups to group like terms. Because at the moment we've got adverse events and randomized controlled trials and RCT and you get the picture. And that would only result in about 20 records to come in from PubMed. So at the moment I have created some groups for outcomes and for interventions, but I'll also create one for disease state. So click and drag that group into the middle here, and I'm going to pop in NSCLC and non-small cell lung cancer. I'll pop adverse events into the outcomes box, and maybe I'll also create another one for study type and pop those in like that. And so that will update the results to about 5,000, which is more expected. Minimize that box and then go ahead and refresh exploration. And what that's going to do is gather a subset of 250 studies from PubMed to give you an idea of what will be out there in the literature were you to finalize this search. And so right off the bat, this PCOS page is showing you the most frequently reported terms in the literature, categorized by population, intervention, and outcome. So we can see progression-free survival, most commonly reported, followed by overall survival. And so what you can do in here is add in different terms that you may have forgotten about or that may be appropriate to your project, that sort of thing. So maybe efficacy, you can select that here. You'll typically get a definition here, and it auto-populates it in the top left here. So I can go ahead, add that in. Maybe I add efficacy to the outcomes box here. You can also give these groups a name if you wish. And as you're adding in these different terms, we've talked a bit about how you can group them together versus anding them together. But let's say you also want to negate terms. Let's say we don't want to see a case study, for example. So what we would do, we would add that concept in, but instead of having it be anded, we would negate it by selecting this open circle just here, which turns it red. And now that's added it to the bottom of the query, but we're saying not case studies. So that's excluding case studies from our search. Then I'd refresh exploration and do a bit more of the exploration within these topics here. I would definitely recommend going through each of these, starting off with abstracts, taking a look at the different abstracts that again would be generated were you to finalize this search. You can assess whether these are appropriate. Do we want to broaden the scope, make it more narrow, that sort of thing. We've got this RoboPico highlighting that helps to sort of guide your eye. Under the type tab, we have the different study types that have been assessed from these terms. So we can see mostly randomized controlled trials, then followed by reviews, then at observational studies, some case reports. So we might want to take a look at, again, these different studies, click on those associated records, view the abstract, and go through each of them as we wish. You might also want to link out to view the full article as well. Study location is generated, so this can be helpful to get a snapshot of the types of studies and where they're located. And since this is a choropleth map, we can see the darker the blue, the more studies reported in that location. So China has reported the most studies just from a glance. And again, you can take a look at those records. You've got a histogram of study size as an estimation. We've got different topics that are generated. So while picos can be helpful to have separated out, sometimes just generalized topics can be helpful as well, that might be relevant to your project, and see which studies reported that project. Alongside acronyms, always great to familiarize yourself with acronyms before diving into a new project, followed by keywords and that sort of thing. So after you've done your exploration, you've added new different terms, you're ready to finalize your search. To do that, select finalize in the top right, takes you straight to that main literature search page. Here is where you can make edits. So maybe you take out some concepts, maybe you add them in. You would also select your search engine. It's PubMed by default, but you can select another one. Add in a date filter, run it on a schedule of your choosing. And you can always change the schedule afterwards. Select add, and that adds all of that literature in to your nest, ready for that next screening stage. Great, and that is how to use search exploration, so from start to finish. Thanks for watching, bye.